Welcome everyone to the Berlin Select Board meeting for Monday, September 12th, 2022. Almost forget the year. To let you know that meetings of the Berlin Select Board are generally recorded for transmission on both the Berlin Cable Access Channel and YouTube. Your voice, your image, and your telephone number may be recorded. And you'll see a lot of my chin because apparently I'm not wearing my reading glasses, and therefore to see this screen, I'll have to look up. Let's start with the approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve the August 29th open session minutes.
Seconded.
I think we're then ready to vote. Hawkins, aye.
Keefe, aye.
Stone Eye.
Great. Correspondence. Is there any correspondence, June? That's
Yes.
select board worthy?
We do. We have a couple that came in. We did receive a notice from the AG's office in regards to the approval of the May 2nd, 2022 annual meeting. It looked like everything was approved. They just made a suggestion that we may want to contact council in regards to, I believe it was the J-break, the E-break, just to make sure that we were in compliance with all of the other bylaws. So I have forwarded that to council to see if they have any recommendations for the next meeting. We also received a notice from Neshoba Associated Board of Health. They are offering a flu clinic. It looks like it is going to be on October 6th. It's a Thursday at the Berlin Elementary School between 3:30 and 6 p.m. It does require pre-registration, so if anybody's interested, they can look on the Neshoba site at www.neshoba.org/calendar, or they could also call Tamara at 978-772-3335 extension 340. So that is available. And also just to remind people that voter information for the state elections, which is taking place on Tuesday, November 6th, is available at the town website underneath the town clerk for voter information. Is listed there with all of the dates as far as voter registration, deadlines, early absentee voting, and voting by mail. And that is it.
So we still haven't heard about the November special town meeting articles being approved. Correct?
I did not see anything there. I can look into that though, Chris, because I was not aware of that.
Well, not that I know of anyway. I was
Okay.
particularly asking about the liquor license, but that's sort of a little bit on its own, I guess.
Yeah, and I haven't seen anything come through since the last update that we had.
Good. Those are all decent things. We're at the point where there's general public comment. If there's people in the audience who would like to have questions or say something, raise your hand to be recognized. And while we are doing that, we can bring forward a couple of folks who are here. And hopefully, Mary, you know the right people better than I do for the Rockwell Apartments requesting their affordable rent rates be approved. I think that's at least
Alyssa and Stephanie, I believe.
I thought so, yes.
So I'm not very familiar with these items. So I did request if Stephanie was able to come in to discuss it with you in case you had any questions and to see if she could possibly make a recommendation to you.
Appreciate that, June.
Yes, thank you, Jen. So I thought I read the emails, but now I can't find them quick enough. There we go.
So go ahead.
I don't know, Stephanie or Alyssa, you want to go first and just give us the thumbnail of what is being requested tonight and any sort of commentary you have about it?
Sure.
I guess I'll start and let Stephanie fill in if I miss anything. So the consultant to the property has calculated the rents, a rent increase for 2022 based on the maximum, and that's what they're seeking approval of. Our general, and they said that they're seeking approval of the maximum, but they will encourage the property owners not to go to the full max. But they are requesting what's allowed under state regulations. Our general rule, like our general advice is the same. We encourage property managers not to go to the maximum.
And the maximum is a 5% increase, correct?
Well, no, that was during COVID, and now that COVID is over, it's based on 30% of the area median income, and there's a 50% affordability rate and an 80%. So I don't know how affordable housing savvy everybody is. So 50% of area median income is one rent level, and then 80% of area median income is a second rent level. And they are requesting the maximum under both area median income levels. And the maximum is calculated at what would be 30% of that person's income, based on the general area median income, not an individual. And then they subtract out utility allowances if the property owners have the tenants pay their own utilities. So the calculations were all done correctly. We reviewed it. But so the increases roughly for the 50% area median income tenants are a bit over 6%. And the 80% level renters, it's over 11%.
So have you done the calculations? I know I saw in Stephanie's email that you've been encouraging setting rents at 10% or more below the maximum allowable rent. Have you done those calculations to see what those numbers would be?
I didn't do those calculations. I did do the calculation of what a 5% increase would be, because DHCD, while they will approve the maximum, they encourage either a 5% increase or to have the rents tied directly to that household's income. So it truly is 30% of that household's income. Now, obviously, we don't know what those rents are without knowing the household's income. But a 5% increase, folks have the rents in front of them? Have the proposal?
Alyssa, that's what I was going to ask. On the document that has the title on the top, Berlin Rockwell DHCD, there's two lines in green, one for 80%, one for 50%. Are those the numbers that we're looking at?
Correct, those are.
Okay.
So if we go to the bottom, that's where the 50% rents are listed, a 5% increase would be 1,013 instead of 1,027. It's not a stark difference with the 50% numbers because we're at a little over 6 going down to 5, but the 80% numbers are quite different. But I can keep going through the 50%. So for the 1 bedrooms, instead of 1,144, it would be 1,129. And for the 2 bedroom, instead of 1,232, it would be 1,220. For the tenants who are at 80% of the area median income, so they're proposing an increase to 1,622, which is over 11%, but a 5% increase would bring that to 1,530. And then with the 2 bedroom, it would be 1,672 rather than the 1,771.
Did you tell us what the studio was?
There was only a studio for the 50% area median income.
Okay. I just remember when that was like 900 or something.
Right. So in 2021, the rent for a studio was 965,
Mhm.
and they're proposing to bump it up to 1,027.
Well, I don't know how you guys, Scott and Peg, how you feel about this, but I would like to see it more along the lines of 10% below the maximum allowable rent.
And
In some cases, that would actually bring it down below the 2021, so they may not want that.
Okay.
I just would,
Direction then.
Yeah, we're mainly urging to at least come in under the maximum allowable rent, just because there's a better opportunity to keep the tenants in the development, and of course, decrease vacancies, keep them in there, because it's better to keep earning income at a lower rent than to have nothing if people move out because they can't afford it.
right,
And we don't want an empty building either.
right.
right, so if the keeping the rents, having the increase be more moderate, you keep the current tenants in place because hopefully they can afford a smaller increase. And then if people do decide to leave, it's easier to attract tenants with a lower rent.
Are the buildings full? Are there any number of vacancies in any of the buildings?
I don't know that. Do
No.
you, Stephanie?
I don't.
Or a waiting list? I mean, I've heard rumors scuttle through town because, well, that's what small towns do. You scuttle. And I've heard there's like a 3-year waiting list for that. So I was just wondering if you could confirm, deny, don't know.
Well, I know someone who just put their father in a unit over there in the last, I don't know, few months.
Yeah. So no, I was wondering for my own edification, I'm just wondering. So when I'm hit with that, I can either say spot on, no, or you're close, not really.
We might ask, because it could also be that like market rate units, there's some vacancies, but the affordable units, there's a waiting list for. And
Yeah, I
that
don't know.
typically what happens in developments like this.
Yeah, and I believe there are 21 affordable units at the Rockwell.
Mhm.
Actually, SEB Housing might know the number of vacancies there.
Okay, not a big deal. Just didn't know if you knew off the top of your head.
And
Thank
then
you.
JHCD has already sort of approved these 6% and 11% increases, even though they're encouraging something lower.
That's right. So the proposed rents up to for 2022 are allowable under DHCD's regs.
Okay,
But the first set of approvals is with the town, and
Right.
then DHCD will be next.
right. So the opinion is just that what they have calculated is correct and allowable. They're not asking for rents that are above what the law allows. And then we can actually set, we have the authority to say that actually because of the market and the people we're trying to serve is still a little too high. And we'd like to lower something a little bit less.
That's correct.
And I'm inclined with Chris to say that the rent should, I think these increases are pretty steep. I know, if you think of the business, the other side, I'm sure their costs have gone up as well. And so I'm wondering if there's something like, if we think 5 or 6% for both sides is doable, they get a little bit more, but we're not pricing, hopefully not pricing too many people sort of out of those units. Peg, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, everyone's been hit hard and everyone continues to be hit hard. So if there is any magical number, obviously 10 is too high, 5 is what they're shooting for, maybe we could arm wrestle 7 or 6, for that, and I'd be okay with it.
Well, Chris, if you had thought if we did 6 for both sets of units, that gives them what they asked for the 50% of median income, and asks for the deduction on the 80% of the income. So they're not just totally walking away with feeling that they were not listened to potentially. Might be something that feels decent.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to get just a little lower than what they're proposing. So if the closer to 10 that we can get is would probably be better. But if 6 or 7 is what you guys think, then that's what we'll do.
Peg, your thought?
That's my official position.
Okay,
I mean, obviously, I want to do what is best for the residents while keeping, you know, the business in mind. For that, it's a hard balance.
Yeah.
Anything that we could do to probably lean more towards helping the folks out in town, I would lean that way more.
Yeah,
Um,
otherwise, the other option would be to base it on 30% of each tenant household's income. And I mean, with, you know, with about 21 or so households, it's
Right.
not completely onerous.
Well, they need to know the person's income anyways, just to confirm that they're at the 50% level or at the 80% level. So they're not doing any calculation they wouldn't be doing anyways, but it would just mean that each unit had a unique rent.
How does that work when they change rent tenants?
Probably for the marketing, they would take the area median income number and put it there, sort of the figures that they've proposed here. So they could take the 30% of the area median
Right.
income.
They would just redo the math again for.
Right, they'd redo the math of each person, and they would redo the math annually, not like every month. So if the person had more income one
Right.
month and less income the next, they're not readjusting the rent every month.
Right.
That's correct.
Right.
Bringing back my days when I worked for a low-income housing developer and had market rate and affordable units in the same building. And I know that one of the problems, the other side is that, you know, if the less income they bring in, that's less money they have for repairs and maintenance and reserves. And in the long run, that hurts a little bit. But I mean, I think even some of the cuts we're looking at are not enough that would suddenly mean they can't do maintenance either. 21 units, and we just, so if we wanted to ask if all the tenants in the 50 and 8% paid 30% of their revenue income as rent, it still makes it quite affordable. It doesn't sound like we're adding a lot to it. And if they really don't like the answer we come up with, what is their redress?
I guess they come back to you and ask for a,
Yep. Ask us to reconsider.
Okay.
And I think looking at the audience, I don't see anyone from the Rockwell in the audience. They were informed of this conversation tonight, weren't they?
I believe so, yes. I think Mary actually sent them the link.
And so I think we're leaning towards then going to the individual rents for individual households, which means on some units, they'll get slightly more rent than they were asking for. And some rent units, they'll be getting slightly less rent than they were really asking for, but I make sure that the houses as a whole are relatively affordable.
I think one thinking from the owner's perspective, one hazard with that is at the 80% area median income, somebody could very well be at 55%. And, you know, struggling, but somehow making it work. And so then if we tie it to their income, it's going to be significantly lower.
Right.
So that's a big income loss for the property owner.
Right. It does disincentivize them for people at 55 or 25% of area income to be renting to those people.
All right. They're going to want somebody at 50, at 80.
Yep. I think it's something we try to watch. You know, this conversation we have annually. And so if it's not working, you know, I think we come back and we figure out another way of doing it. And frankly, if they don't like the answer, they can come back and we can have another crack at this apple.
They may very well like it, though.
Yes, they also might too.
Mhm.
Is there a motion that we can have?
Do you want me to make the motion, Peg?
Sure.
All right, I will try. Unless there's a recommended motion that Stephanie or Alyssa might like to offer. Just to do the 30% of the income of the tenant.
Yes, I think for the 50 and 80% units.
Okay.
Do you need us to make, well, can we
Well,
do that as non-residents?
You can suggest the motion. I think ultimately it's going to be Chris, or I think we're just struggling with it. What wording gets us
Struggling
to
with
the
the
answer we
words.
want.
Oh, I
And so
would
you
say
might be
make,
suggesting the wording.
Right, I guess I would suggest that, make a motion to tie the affordable rents to 30% of the individual household's income.
So moved.
And seconded. Sorry, I was writing.
That's fine. I don't see other discussion, so I think we're ready to vote. Hawkins, aye.
Keith, I.
Stone Eye.
Great. And then who informs the Rockwell units that this is the decision we came to? Is that gonna be on us?
I'm not sure if Mary would make,
Do a letter.
do up a letter and
Yep.
that we could have, request that Scott come in and sign.
Yep. I can do that. Okay, that's how we'll inform them. Great.
Thank you for coming, Stephanie and Alyssa.
Yes,
Oh, you're welcome.
thank
I
you.
appreciate your help.
Very much so.
Thank you both.
Okay, that is agenda item 1. Yay.
Have a good night.
Or hearing
Thank
1.
you.
Yes, thank you. Very
You
good.
too. Take care.
Agenda item 2, Fred is in the audience. We can move him forward and get a highway facility update. So I pull it up here.
You all hear me?
Yes,
Fred.
All right, so
Right.
I didn't do July's. Do you want me to start with July or just jump right to August?
yeah, hit July highlights and then jump into August, and we'll just save our questions on both months to after you're presented.
Okay, July was actually a busy month. We started out, we had to fix some of the road work up on Lola Drive that was caused by the snowplow over the winter. It got really pretty bad. July 13th, we were notified that the town was awarded the Phase 1 grant for the small bridge grant,
Mhm.
which was a positive thing. Unfortunately, right around July 22nd, Matt Texera, one of our newer hires, resigned to move on to work for himself. But it was right around the time that Jack Roy came on as one of our seasonals. So that helped out with the mowing of the cemeteries, the ball fields and things like that. Tom Bradley started on the 11th of July to fill the operator driver position, which is good. Tommy, he's catching on to the way things are done, always willing to jump in and do whatever he needs to, and always finds a way to keep himself busy. We did have a rough patch at the public safety building with the RT unit. For some reason, the mixed air damper was in the completely open position. And when we had those 100-degree days with humidity and everything, it was sucking all the humidity air into the building, which the unit couldn't compensate for it. So people were literally dying in there. ATC never returned my calls to come in and have them look at it. So I reached out to Viking Mechanical, which is owned by a gentleman here in town. They came right out that day and found the problem, got it working. And since then, we haven't had any issues with it. Which is phenomenal. Hopefully it holds out into the winter season. And then we were notified from Otis Elevator on the elevator inspections. The first one that actually failed the fire service phase 2 test was the one at the municipal center. The way that test works is when the fire department overrides it, and they control it. So they're going up to the 2nd, 3rd floor, wherever they're going. Everything is done by push and hold the button. So the minute you let go of the button, the door automatically starts closing. Should there be fire on that floor, the test failed. So you push that button, you let go, it continues to travel, stays open until you close it. That was the biggest hit for the August budget, because we have until December to have that corrected. We're in the queue to have it done at the rate of $8,500 just for that one elevator. I was told that the 1870 elevator also failed that last one, so that too is going to be coming on. But that has a date of September 30th, 8 a.m. They're gonna be testing that one. So we can expect another repair bill to come for that one. The Radex material was put in the bait stations to swap out the material that was causing all the wildlife issues. It was a trial and error because the company Marlboro Pest Control has never used it before. And it actually comes as a brick, almost like a fiberboard. So they weren't sure how it was going to take to the moisture outside, whether it was going to fall apart or actually be consumed. We did discover this month on their rebaiting the stations. It actually turns black. There hasn't been much activity in the bait stations, but yet we've had issues with mice being downstairs in the food pantry area. The police department has had a mouse inside. So now they started baiting inside as well. So we're gonna go for another month with the Radex program, which is the same stuff we just had put up the Legion Hall. If it doesn't work, we're gonna have to research another material that's gonna work a little more effective, but still not be harmful for the wildlife, should a rodent get eaten. So that was pretty much it for July. August, we took delivery of the shared bucket truck. And the week following that, we scheduled to have our in-service done by the builder. He came down, gave us the whole run through. I was the first one to go in the bucket to try to run it. And right away it started leaking hydraulic fluid. They came back a week later, thought it was just a couple seals in the valve body. It ended up being the entire valve body is holding too much pressure, and it's actually blowing off a metal cap that's supposed to be able to take the pressure, basically hold the seal in. The wait time for that was 3 to 4 weeks. What they did was they wrote a letter to the production line, and they're waiting now to see if they can get a valve body pulled from the production line to be brought to us, because they feel bad. And obviously they told the builder that this is a brand new truck. We had just taken ownership, haven't even used it. So that's where the bucket truck is. We have it, but it's broken. We got a couple more jobs done on the equipment here. We had one brake job done by one of the senior workout program staff. And then one of us, one of the our own guys just finished another one. And we got some maintenance done to the bed chains on the salt spreaders. We did have a day scheduled with the tree company that comes in with us, Go Tree. We were out for about an hour and a half, and he blew a hydraulic line on his elevator. So that ended our tree job. The only good thing was we were able to get all the brush out of the tree and get one chunk taken off the bud, but the bud is still standing in someone's yard. I haven't heard back from him to reschedule that date. The good part is they're not charging us for the hour and a half, so we still have a full day with them. And then towards the end of the month, there was a 30-minute wind event that came in. It ended up taking down 8 non-town-owned trees. The hardest hit area was Ball Hill. We had 3 trees down within 300 feet. Naturally, it took down wires. All the power had been restored back to town, I believe by 2 a.m. So like I was saying earlier, since the change over the bait control, I think now we have the mice issue inside. We haven't had any problems down the public safety building, except for this month, which is not a big deal. So the dehumidifier for the vault, the discharge pump stopped working, which caused flooding in that room and then also into the COA, Victoria's office. So the carpet was ripped up. We get everything dried. Viking Mechanical is supposed to meet up with me this week to see if they can tackle that, take on that project, to see what needs to be done to fix the dehumidifier. It's still running. We just have buckets under it to catch what it needs to for right now. The mold issue up at the Legion Hall, we received all the recommendations from G's Environmental Service when they were up there. So I took a few minutes and looked into the products that they requested that we use to clean up the mold, because we can do it. We can clean up the mold, remove whatever wallboard needs to be removed, re-wallboard it. With just the materials, it's just over $2,100, but that doesn't include the ceiling tile because I haven't got an accurate count to see what that's going to cost for that. or figuring the labor hours. But the town did receive $5,615 for the net claim minus the deductible that they had. So now that school is back in session, we're hoping to reach out once we have all the cleaning done, reach out to Assabet, see if they want to take on the project of coming in and repainting the inside to make it habitable again. Which leads me to another thing. We've never really met with the building needs committee to see, you know, what's going to be done with certain buildings in town. So I'm curious as to how much time and money do you want me to commit to cleaning up the Legion home and getting things going? We did take care of, we got ventilation going into place right now. And the bait stations were put out. But there's a lot of stuff that they recommend that we do to the place to make it so the mold never comes back again. But I just wasn't sure how much time and money you wanted to put into it. They did take asbestos samples while they were there, and of the 5 samples they took, they all came back negative. The only thing they didn't test for was lead paint, which I'm sure it's there, but we do have test kits that we can do ourselves to find out if there's lead paint in the entryway. And that's about all we have for August. Because I mentioned we had the FS90 repair to the elevator.
Hey, Chris, do you want to comment on the building use for him? I'll go last on that.
I'll go second last. Go ahead, Chris, you go first.
Well, I think we talked about it a little bit one night. And sort of, I think we decided at that time that to do whatever we needed to do to keep the mold from coming back.
Okay.
Solve the mold problem, because we don't know right now what we're going to be using that building for.
Okay.
And I mean, if it doesn't cost much to do a few other things, I wouldn't mind doing that, like a coat of paint, I guess. But you know, I don't know what other kinds of things you were talking about that have been suggested to you.
Well, the other things were the things that are in the basement, like there's old building materials and things like that that need to come out. The only real way to do that is through a little 2x2 hatch in the floor, which would be time consuming. One of the things they did suggest is a thermostatically controlled fan for the basement that would, if we had groundwater come in, anything that caused dampness in the basement, that would kind of regulate that. That too, we'd have to bring an electrician for to wire it, find a location to put it in between floor joists, because right now it sits on granite as a foundation. So it's just things like that that would be time consuming and obviously a little more expensive.
And so we're sure that the water or the dampness which caused the mold came in through the roof.
That's what they were trying to say, but there are no openings in the roof in the area on that back wall. They were trying to say that it came in through wind-driven rain through a gable vent. But the building really doesn't face that way to get it. Plus the trees in the back, I think, block a lot of it. So it's still really kind of undecided as to how that water got in that wall. Because there is
Could be
one.
basement.
I'm sorry?
Could it be the basement then?
I don't really know. I've never been up there really in that certain season to see if anything's damp. But all the framing members downstairs, they're hard. They just need a little bit of shoring because they come out of their pockets and things like that. But the chimney that they use now for the gas heater has no leaks around it.
Well, maybe you could keep us posted as maybe you learn more.
Mhm.
If you know, if something comes up and you say to yourself, okay, that's what's going on, then come back and just let us know. And other than that, maybe just take care of the mold as you had planned.
Okay, we can do that.
I don't know how Peg and Scott feel, but that sounds like a plan to me.
Meg?
Hi, Fred.
Oh, yeah.
Slightly off topic, not really. We know that mice and rats, unfortunately, are a big issue in this town. You know, hear lots of people talk about it, people with barns. have any of the other municipal buildings in town been checked for rodents and or mold issues?
We haven't heard anything because they swapped the bait stations at the 1870 as well.
Okay.
We haven't had any issues that we know of animals getting inside that building as well.
Okay.
One thing I wasn't sure if maybe they were coming in through an open door, because if you're in the back hallway that leads down from like towards Victoria's area, the emergency doors were actually propped open at some point and left open because you have to unlock one to get the other one to close first. So we don't know how long that had been open, if that's how they even got in the building. The same with the police department. If they leave the Sallyport door open, are they coming into the garage?
Okay. And specifically in regard to your question about how much money to put into Legion Hall, if we don't have it, we have every building in town, every municipal building in town has issues. Holes in ceilings, mold, in terrible condition. I'm not in favor of spending any more money than what has been spent on Legion Hall until we can get an assessment of all the buildings and either figure out, are we going to keep them? Are they coming down? Are we selling them and they become somebody else's issue? So I know that we had earmarked, potentially ARPA money for this, but I have a hard time spending money on an unknown. What happens if we fix the building and then we decide we don't need it anymore, we're going to sell it privately? So I'm not in favor of spending any more money on Legion Hall.
Okay, well, that was another question I was going to ask. I know about a month and a half ago, the project manager that's doing all the work down there at the Spooky World property met with Eric and I up there, and they were kind of like looking at it to see if they were going to relocate it down to their property and make it like a museum type thing. It was determined that, given its condition, how much it would cost for the transportation, moving wires and things like that to get it down, that it was going to stay there. There was talk about creating a 401c for that building. In the end, they were going to basically take and rehab it, add bathrooms on the side, bring the water up to what the standard should be. So I didn't know where any of that stood, because she actually said she was going to be reaching out to Margaret back at the time.
So June, can we pivot the question to you? Do you know if Margaret has completed you're shaking yes, you know where I'm going?
I think so. She actually has been in touch with the Stevens Foundation, I do believe, in regards to that. It is in the works. That's pretty much all I know about it. But I also wanted to put in here that Margaret does have and has started working on the RFP for a facilities assessment.
That's where I was going.
So that is, I know that she did talk to Kristen in regards to some of the procurements that she's already got started. So I know that it's number 3 on her list of stuff that she sent over to Kristen. So it is there. I don't know how soon that will take place, but I do know that it's definitely there and it's in the works.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking we've received $5,600 in insurance money to abate the problems in the building. And I would definitely spend that money to stop the mold from making the building any worse. And if in doing so, we get a fresh coat of paint that's non-consequential inside, but I would not be taking extra steps like a fan to the basement or other sort of extraordinary steps until we really know what we're going to be planning on doing in the building. I think if we do nothing with it and somehow just pocket that $5,600, it feels sort of a weird insurance claim to say there's a problem with the building and do nothing with the money. And it just makes the building get worse. It makes it harder if we did find a good use for it for the next person or even our own town use to be able to use it, because the mold will get worse. And so I would even encourage you, I know your staff could do this task, but I also know that the highway is understaffed at the moment and the list is huge. And I think this is a great opportunity to if Aspet wants to do it, great, and it's great experience for their students. But if they say that's not really their area, I would hire an outside company and just have them do some basic mold remediation, make sure the building is in decent shape, button it up and let us sort of sit and figure out what the next steps are for that building.
Okay.
Well,
I could do
I
that.
mean, there's other technical schools in the area besides Assabet. Obviously, you'd love Assabet because it's Berlin kids that are there too, but there's Monty Tech and other ones around. So if Assabet's not an issue and we want to go that route, then, you know.
I'm just trying to figure out what's the least
know.
impactful from the time standpoint on highway department and Fred.
It just might be that some of the technical schools can't do mold.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth spending some time asking.
Yes.
And you're right, Peg, it doesn't always have to be Assabet. And if that doesn't pan off in a decent time period, reach out to a vendor to see if they can do it. So that the highway staff in town can spend their time doing things that really require some nuance, knowledge of town to do better.
And I know that Fred and I believe, has talked a little bit about this, and I don't know if the program's back open, but also the sheriff's department.
right.
Sometimes they have that available too.
Yep.
And I think, Fred, if it turned out, because in theory, there's $1,000 deductible on this, and if that ended up being something we had to spend to get it done right, again, not doing the extraordinary things of trying to haul stuff out of the basement or put in those sort of fans, but that come back to us.
Okay, we'll do.
Fred, you can always go buy bags of charcoal, because my sister-in-law runs apartments up in Maine, and that's what they do. They literally buy bags of charcoal, they buy tins, and they put them around, and it will absorb any moisture.
Yeah.
So
Really?
here's a thought.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, I
there's-
know.
The other materials work a little bit better, but the other materials are also like 6 times more expensive. And sometimes the simple old-fashioned way works well.
It seems to work, yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I agree with Scott that take the money that we have from insurance, do what you can with it, be wise. Take care of the most important needs, but for forking over any other money, I'm a no.
Well, I think, Fred, I think the three of us sound like we're pretty close. There might be some nuanced differences between the three of us, but I think that gives you some general direction to go in. Your staffing levels, where are we at? You have openings, you're interviewing,
Yes.
listing.
We still have 2 openings. We have Dylan's old position and Matt's. We do have, well, I printed off, so we have 4 candidates right now. One of them is like qualified to the point where if he started tomorrow, we could put him to work doing anything. The only problem is he's coming, well, he could come from the town of Sudbury. He's been there since 2014. I can almost guarantee he's getting paid more there than what he would be here, given in that thing. So unless he's having a personnel issue, I don't think we're gonna get him. The other guys that were remotely qualified, they do have a CDL, they just have no endorsements for the hydraulic license, which isn't a deal breaker because I think, in my opinion, it's easier to get that providing the state starts putting test days together.
Okay, good,
Hopefully next week we'll have some interviews.
great. I look forward to seeing it on our agenda item to approve hires.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm sure you do, yes. Yes. You're way more
I-
incentivized to do it than we are.
Fred, I have one question for you. I am not asking you to do anything. I just need a yes or no, and later on I'll explain why I needed to ask you. Can your guys in highway, can they, oh God, where'd my note go? Crap. Can they, on a door, can you adjust the force that it takes to open the door and the timing that it takes for the door to shut by itself? Yes or no?
Yes, because we had to do that here in the highway garage when we had an
Okay.
ADA inspection.
Okay, all right. That's
And
it.
Speaking of
asking.
doors, I still haven't heard back from Larry Crosman with the estimates for your doors or the transfer station walls. Because he wanted a second opinion of his own because the price he came up with for the doors he thought was a little extreme, but it's right around the same price that I initially gave the board.
Okay.
So it is in the ballpark. He just thought it was a little high because it's been a while since he bought a door.
And that's fine, Fred. I mean, that's not a on fire, oh my God, we need to take care of. That's something that moves from page to page in my notebook. But considering what you have to do and what this request is,
So what door needs adjustment?
la, we're done. Nice to see you, Fred.
Because
Chris,
what
do
you
you have
can
any other
do
questions?
is you can fill out this form. And then
Oh my
send it
God.
to The TA, and then it'll make its way down to
To
my
the
office.
TA, there you go.
Wow, no,
Or
no.
TU2.
If you stick around, I will let you know why I asked. And no, I'm not filling out any form to go to June, to go to you. Done.
Yeah, yeah. Well, whoever needs it done can fill out the form to go to June, to go to Fred then too.
Yeah.
Funny.
Chris, do you
You're
have,
funny,
uh,
Fred. Fill out
do you
this
have other
form.
stuff, Chris?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay,
I'm
great.
good.
Thank you, Fred.
Thanks,
you.
Fred.
Always, and thanks for all the work that you and your team do.
All right.
Absolutely.
Fred.
All right.
And Peg, you and Fred luckily did this great job of setting up the next agenda item, which is the protocol for making requests of departments.
Yes.
Fred might have actually like, jumped the gun on that, but go ahead, June.
Yep. Actually, as you saw, the form has been started. Thank you, Mary. And it has been shown to Fred, who is going to make any tweaks that he felt that would be needed. We're also trying to work on a protocol and also to try to tweak the form a little bit differently so that way there it can be for all departments also. So if somebody needs, say, a police officer for something, they can fill that out and request it from Eric, just so that way there's some sort of.
Request it from the
a way to
TA.
request it. Yep, through the TA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that way there, at least we can try to, I don't know, filter some of the items that are coming out.
Streamline.
'Cause,
Streamline it.
yeah, we seem to be getting a number of them, and I just feel that it would be easier for Fred to, or anybody else as a that matter, be able to work that way. So hopefully within the next week or so, we'll be able to complete that and get that back out
Right.
and in operation.
And then we might start setting examples as individual select board members of us using those forms, and we have like requests or thoughts, especially if they're not sort of from motions from us. Because I think when we do motions, then it's easy for June to already
Yeah.
know it's happening since we did a motion in the meeting, so,
Right.
or the TA.
Or the TA at that time.
Right. So actually, you want to give, sorry, because I did town administrator report of bullet points, I think they're all individual agenda items. Do you want to take it away, June, and just work down the list?
I will do that. I just want to add though, before I forget, back to Fred's report and items there with highway. I just wanted to add that we are still working back and forth on the solar for the highway barn. It went to town council. I did speak with town council on Friday. He made a couple of adjustments and then send that over to Solek to take another look at it. Our town council is not overly thrilled working with a third party, so he just wants to make sure that everything that he knows or could be a problem over the course of the next 20 years, he's trying to touch base on with them at this point. I did let him know, though, that we did have the meta grant that we were using that we really need to move forward very quickly. Margaret was going to reach out to the grant people to see if we could get a possibility of a 3-month extension because it does need to be done by the end of this month. So I just wanted to update everybody on that, and I will keep you updated as soon as I hear anything else from that. Fire chief has received a notice in regards to, he received the round 5 FY21 assistance to firefighter grants, which he applied for the radios. I did speak with the chief in regards to where we stand on updating and making the repairs on the radios / antennas. I see that both he and Eric are here. I did also touch base with both TAs, Margaret as well as Kristen, over the weekend. On Friday, I did reach out to them and see what we could move forward on, where the estimates that we had received for the antennas were so different. And it was requested that we do a written request as to the actual estimated cost so that we can compare apples to apples before we actually move forward. But as I did speak with the chief, I really do want to see if we can get this moving and not hold it up too much longer if we don't have to just get all the information and really start working on the repairs to the antennas. I don't know if you would like any updates from either chief or any questions in regards to that. I know that
June, if you
They're
could
here.
share the dollar amount of that grant?
the dollar amount of the grant for the fire radios is $229,458.57.
Oh,
Yes.
So this will take care of chief's fire, our red teams radios, as far as so that this way here, there, I believe, chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they are 3 different frequencies on one radio, so he doesn't have to carry 3 radios. It's all in one.
Right.
We are going to need, though, to still keep on the back burner that the police blue team also is in need of radios at some point that we need to also look into.
And the repair to the radio towers is also a grant that we've been awarded. And so in theory, with the money we have or will be having, we'll be in theory be able to fix the towers and get the red team new radios. So it'll get us much of the way down the path of having some decent communications across town.
We don't have, it wasn't a grant, it
Oh.
was a donation that we had received.
Oh, okay, donation.
That is available for the working of the radio antennas, yes.
so what is the time frame on that to get the antennas fixed? Because does it make sense to give everybody new radios if antennas don't work?
Chief, I don't know, Chief, Fire Chief Ken, I don't know.
That's a very easy one to ask. The public safety communications is a component-driven item. There's portables and mobile radios that go in the cars, and the portables are assigned to the people. And then there's another section that covers repeaters and antennas and associated equipment. And then there's a third piece that's our system connects via fiber optics at 23 Linden to Devon's to the regional dispatch. The repeaters need to move. They haven't moved, but it doesn't mean that the other functions can't be brought up to speed. This grant was applied for in January. We're just in a location where neighbors that we deal with on a weekly basis on mutual aid, mostly Marlboro, but also Northborough, are on different radio bands. We're on UHF. Marlboro's on 800 and Northborough's on high band. So when I go to a call on the highway with Northborough and Marlboro, I have 3 portables. So what we did in interoperability is huge. We don't have interoperability with the personnel. So I chased a grant, assistant to firefighter grant, spelled out what the issues were that we deal with. It's both a safety and an interoperability issue. And they saw, again, that's a competitive grant process that, I don't know what the percentage is last year, but I know in 2020, only 23% of the agencies that applied got their money. So I applied for this with the 3 bands and 1 radio. So all you do is turn the button and you talk to whoever you need to. And then when the radios are brought up to speed, that will have all those components will improve on their efficiency and will be ready. Communications will be very improved.
So which is coming first, the antenna or the radio?
When you say radios, the repeater radios or the portable
Yeah, so
radios?
whatever radios you're buying, what is Berlin taking care of first? The antennas, and do the antennas impact the radios? So again, do you get the antennas up to speed and get them functional and then buy the radios? Or do you buy the radios and then work on the issue of the antennas?
The second part that what you said.
So you,
The portables are already in the loop. They're like a 12 to 14 week time period to order and get in. Okay, so they're already ordered. That was already done. The repeater issue has been going on since, when did we start that? How many months ago? Back in January, February, whenever it started, and that hasn't moved. It doesn't mean that just because one section of it doesn't move, that you don't try to improve the other sections at the same time. So when the other section is improved and comes online, the portables are already there and working. So You can't sit back and wait for one antenna to be put up or two antennas. And that just the antennas themselves haven't moved yet. So we gotta move equipment and it's like, and it just, there's, we're not seeing a lot of movement. So it's like, we're working on it and it's like, and there was some new information that was shared today that June talked about. And I'm working on that. I talked with the chief about it. I drafted a document to try to help that. I got to share it with the chief tomorrow, then pass it on to June. And hopefully that gets to where we want to be to move things. Yeah.
So, and I understand that I would never ask you to do one and then do the other. Everything always works in conjunction and leans in and intertwines and all that other fun stuff. So, June, Eric, I don't know, back to you. Back to you, June. What are we looking at? Was this what you were talking about the quotes, or the only one quote that you've received, or because the quotes are different? I guess I'm just trying to get a grasp on what's going on, where's the block, what needs to happen, what is there a funding issue, with that, and then what we can do. That's maybe tonight's just not a good night for me, but I don't have a clear sense of what needs to be
A
done.
good question. I was tasked today, I should say, the chief and I were tasked today to come up with a apples to apples document that every of the three vendors will look at in the same eye and give us a quote, that comparison that is apples to apples with what we need to be done in Berlin. There's a feeling among June, and it seems like Margaret in some other discussion, that what was done by vendors. Each vendor is like anything. It's like a car mechanic. They all do things a little bit different, but they get to the end result and having your car run good. So it's like, but we were directed to come up with a document that spells it out clearly, step by step by step, what we need to do for each piece, so it can go out to bid again, and then we'll get those bids back. Oh, I should say quotes, excuse me, quotes back, and then we'll be able to look at that, ensure that it falls within our funding budget that we have, and then move it. And again, even when that's done, it's still, they said, 2 to 4 months to get equipment in
Right.
to be installed. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes I hate to chase the tail, but we need to chase the tail to kind of get it done, so.
Right, because I think the reason those extra steps are being done is the three quotes came back so radically different. We're not quite sure. We don't want to necessarily go with the cheapest quote and discover it doesn't actually meet our need, or go with the expensive quote and discover that it added a whole bunch of things that weren't
Exactly.
actually
So,
necessary.
but that just came up today.
But if you could
that-
clarify, I think where Peg started, where I still would love to clarity on, is that the antenna project and the radio project are two separate, unrelated projects, and one could happen without the other, and one could happen earlier or later than the other and not really impact. Because I think sorry, Peg, for trying to read into what you're saying, but that we don't want to spend $200,000 on radios and then throw them out in a year because the antenna doesn't work with them.
Great.
No,
I thought I
Not
heard
at
from
all.
you
Nope.
is that's not the case at
Not
all.
at all. First of all, who would spend $229,000 on radios,
We-
not have interface with it?
We have all seen stupid things done by government agents.
No, that's an
So just to make sure that we
No.
don't join that pile.
Again, I just go from years of my street experience. You
Yep.
get something that's safe, efficient, and effective, and we're going in that direction. We just had an extra step issued today. We
Yep.
gotta work through it and get it done, and everything at the end will fit together like Peg said,
Yeah,
like the gears. Nope, I guarantee.
okay.
So then
We'll move it.
Chiefs, what's your time frame to get this document together?
Tomorrow.
I got the first draft, but it got done so late this afternoon, I haven't been able to share it with the chief and then move it to the TA2.
Okay.
So close. Again, it's just the document part. We're still to move stuff.
I know.
But we should have that. The conversation was this morning to get it completed today or tomorrow. So it's like, where is it? 2 pages. Right there. So it's like, I
Okay.
gotta get to the chief first thing, and then it will be off to June.
Okay, and I do believe that, I'm hoping that this is the part of it that is going to help the most, I believe, with the communications issues that we're having. Where this will take place now, hopefully we'll have everything in this quote for the antennas, and chiefs, correct me if I'm wrong, but we'll have the antennas, the repeaters, the cable that's needed also to bring this together. And Chief, I believe we're also going to look at generators, and also I have something down here written as far as a filter goes, as well as batteries for the generator.
Yep, that's part
so
of it. The generators aren't on there. We had discussion
Yeah,
today and Friday, that the generators with the battery backup system you have, and it gets into like something that MEMA is big on, continuity of operation. And the battery gets you like 12 to 20 hours, the battery set during a bad weather event, where the generator gets you 5 to 7 days. So what you want to work for is the 5 to 7 days, small Generac, put a cylinder of propane next to it, feed it, it's running. And all you got to do is go check, see the green light on, and you're set to go. So it's like, that's kind of like where we are with that. And I told her, I said that in my opinion, I should say it like this, is that get the generator, get the radio, not the generator, get the repeater, get the antennas up and make that functional from
Yep.
what it is now. And just as an example, and Chief worked really hard one weekend, spent a lot of time on a weekend on this with one of the vendors. The repeater failed, and to shut it off and reboot it, they had to go to a DOS system. That's how old the stuff is. And the guy had an old laptop that he has just to do that. He brought it out, or dusted it off, and rebooted that repeater up there on Taylor Road. So that's where we are.
So June, I was really glad to see that you touched base with Ann up at NBRDD.
mhm. Yes,
Just, I
she
mean,
did reach out also about the radios.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we want something that will work
Yep.
with all that too.
So with
Thank you.
any luck, our fingers are crossed that within the next couple of weeks, would be awesome if we could have these out and back with proposals to be able to start moving this. And
Yeah, we're gonna kick that can hard. Once you approve what we got out and the chief likes it, like I said, I haven't had time to share with anybody yet. So it's like, the chief likes it, it goes to you, June, then I'll kick that can as hard as I need to get it done. And it's important to me. I got a lot of passion for it. You know, I've been in buildings and haven't been able to talk out, so it's not fun. So it's like, that's where we are. And I don't want any of my people here to have to deal with that, what I dealt with there. So.
Good.
So
Uh,
Eric, you realize when it's your turn, or whoever comes up next, that we're gonna want an update, just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about it. I mean, obviously, one of the bids came in exactly where we wanted it, exactly what we wanted. You know, we asked for a complete replacement. I did speak to the other, one of the other vendors, and they said, well, you know, we didn't do a full inspection, and I think they were just shooting in the dark.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I mean, like I said, I mean, if we're gonna spend, I just looked it up, $3,000 to put a crane up on a tower, I want the radio, the antenna mounts to be replaced that are 20 years old. Because 5 years from now, I don't want to spend $3,000 to put up a $600 radio mount for an antenna. You know, and just a crane cost. So
Agreed.
Definitely.
No, it's like, we want it functional. We don't need the Denali model. We're just want to be safe, efficient, effective operationally. We don't need a huge Denali. We're not going after a Denali model at all. We're just going after a really good operational working model that we can depend on each and every day, 2 o'clock in the morning, 12 in the noon in the afternoon. And I don't have to worry about the guys not hearing something or not being able to speak to dispatch.
Good.
Cool.
Thank you, both of you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
both of you.
thank
And I
you.
apologize for the passion comes out when I
No.
speak that. You know what I mean? I've just lived through those things that you, when the radio
We're-
doesn't work and it's not a fun time.
Yeah, we definitely want to, I mean, it looks like we have money on both the radio side and the tower side. Let's get it done.
Yep.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thanks, June.
Guys,
you
nice to
both.
see you
Thank
both,
you.
chiefs. Stay safe.
Now we got some, do you have another
Things
issue
kicked off.
for June? too?
June, next items
Yeah.
on your list.
Okay, are we all set with chiefs or,
I think so. Yep.
okay, all right.
Matt, I have a question. I know farther on down in our new business
Oh.
that there's job descriptions and I'm just going to apologize right now. I've got about a page and a half of questions, so I don't know if Chief Clark wants to hang around or if we just, when it's his turn to come to us, that we devote time to that.
Yeah, I mean, we can, once we get through June's report, we have the MRI contract that he might have some opinions on as well. And so we could probably hit both of those together.
Okay, I'll stay. I'll be here.
Thanks.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Okay, moving on quickly so that chief doesn't have to be here all night.
Yeah,
The open meeting law refreshers, Mary was able to, and I appreciate that, Mary, thank you, is to send out reminders to everybody as far as the open meeting laws. We are, or I will try to reach out to KP Law to see if we can get maybe another, just a refresher. I believe it's actually suggested that we actually do this once a year. So I will see if we can get actually KP Law to come in again to do another quick class. The only thing is that I think we definitely want to try to make sure that we can get it as a date where we can work with a lot of the boards at night too. So we will work on that.
I have a question on that.
Yes.
I know, shocking, Peg has questions. So besides KP Law coming in, is there, and you'll have to go back to them, I don't know if it's legal or not, is there any acknowledgement form that people can sign that they've gone through and they've either attended a course and they've read and they understand? Because I've been in meetings where board members from other committees show up and they don't post meetings. I've been at meetings where, people are using phones, people are, saying comments about, oh, well, just whisper so no one else hears. So I'm hearing them, my skin crawls, and actually got a response of, oh, are there documents out there that I should be reading? So is there any type of acknowledgement form so that if something comes up, you can pick up the sheet and go, you signed it, you knew better, or you signed it, maybe you didn't read it, but oh well, so sad, too bad.
Well,
I would
isn't it something that is an obligation of the town, like you said, June, is to offer it annually?
I believe so.
which
I
I
was
think
gonna-
this
We
announcement
need
did.
to point at those people and ask them to come, make sure they come.
And I can do that. I don't know of all the actual individuals that may need to have a little bit extra assistance on this. And I have to say that probably that's what we would need to know, so that we can direct the people who may have forgotten. And I'm gonna say it's just somebody, it wasn't an intentional thing, I would like to think. So it might just be something that we need to work on. I can definitely bring it up with Kristen when she comes in to see if there's a way that we could do that where, a little note could be sent to us to let us know that, so-and-so may need to be reminded, and we can do that. I know that with us working on the bylaws, I know that there was a lot of new things that we're going to be working on as far as like the yearly reminders, whether it be the conflict of interest or the ethics part of it, also with digital type items too. So I'm sure we could add this to the list. So again, we definitely, and I know that I believe this was one of Kristen's topics too, that she had addressed, that she does not have a problem with speaking with people directly, even if you know that there's an issue somewhere.
Right. Or do you make it the responsibility of the department head? And I know I'm going to get pushback. People are volunteers. I get it. Do you make it the responsibility of the department to, or committee or commission in certain, whatever it is here to say, Peg, you're the head of the Pink Wall Committee. You have 4 members. It is now your responsibility as chair to make sure that wink and blink and nod have completed it and, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know what you're gonna get for turnout, and I don't think that that can be our only option, is to say, here's a class, come.
Well, I know that the DLS, I believe it was, that actually has classes that they can attend. And we can work on it, Peg.
Because I thought all my open meeting laws were just links that I was given that I did an online piece. So I think those exist.
Yeah, because I think all of those were informational.
Mass Mutual, I thought, the Municipal Association has trainings on them too.
So I can definitely look into it, Peg. I'll definitely put that on my list to talk to Kristen about as a follow-up when she gets in.
And again, with some of the things that Kristen needs to do, I'm not quite sure where this is.
No,
You know,
but
so-
we have a large list going for her. So I'll just add it to the sheets that.
And you guys told me not to scare her away. Nice.
We're trying.
Thank you, Miss June.
Okay.
You're in closing.
Okay, you're in closing. We have started the process. We do still have a lot of follow-up as accountant. We do have a lot more follow-up that I have to reach out to many of the volunteer boards and committees on missing information, and I just want to make sure everything's complete before we close. But again, the faster we can get the books closed, the faster we can do the recap sheet, the faster we can get the tax rates set and out. So we're working on it as fast as we can, and Kristen will be here in just a few days, so hopefully then I can switch hats.
All right,
Yeah.
question on that one.
Yes,
When is the point that you just say no? You sent an email. People
I did
know
last
that you-
week.
So
last
what?
week.
It was-
Pretty much
So
last
then-
week, we're done. Once I start closing, it's done. They'll have to go to town meeting.
I was gonna say,
So
the problem
then
is that
if-
puts warrant articles on town meeting if we're not flexible.
Yeah,
All
so I
right.
mean, I'm trying, but unfortunately,
Yeah.
technically, the book should be closed no later than September 1st to get the tax bills out on time.
All right.
So, yeah, every little delay, it matters, so.
So the committee hasn't sent whatever paperwork that you need back. And if they have $10 in the bucket, that's still their funding, that money's gonna revert back to the town, and then they're gonna have to put stand up a town meeting and put an article through to say,
Technically,
I need
yes.
my $10 back
Yes,
and I was
that-
negligent.
That's why I try not to close before I know almost certain that, I don't know what else to tell you, Peg.
Sometimes
Trust me, it's way more of a pain for me
Oh.
than you.
I know.
Right, in the last couple of town meeting where the bill didn't come in until November for June, and so
Right.
the committee didn't
And
know about
it
it,
can
the
happen.
department head didn't
We're
know about
lucky
it.
there's a way to-
And,
we're lucky there's a way to fix it.
right,
Right.
but I do have to say
Yeah,
this year.
I think the state law should be, if you don't get if into a municipality, you don't get the bill in time, so sad, too bad, sucks to be you, but
I would
I
love
think
that,
this-
Scott. I
that
will
takes a state
definitely-
law, so.
Yeah, yeah. So we're trying, we really are. It's just unfortunately, we're finding that everybody is shorthanded.
Yep.
Everybody is overworked in all of the different companies we're dealing with now. So
I know.
we do our best.
I know you do. I appreciate you.
The next one that was on our agenda, I'd like to just pass over.
Okay, that's fine.
Um,
And the one after that, we've already talked about.
Yeah, we already talked about that. I would like to insert a note here on the, hang on 1 second. We sent out a proposal for bids to come in for the heating oil and services for the year. Normally, the TA could take care of this, I believe, without the select board's direct assistance, but I don't feel comfortable signing a contract, also being the town accountant. So we did receive one bid from Northborough Oil, which I did send over to you to take a look at. And if you are in agreement, if you would possibly approve it and award it to them and request that we have the chair sign.
I would make that motion to have the chair sign. I think it's a good rate, and
It's actually a really good rate.
if June is feeling uncomfortable, then I would ask that the board vote to have Scott sign the document.
Yeah, having looked around for oil, then yeah, I think that the price that you locked in is good, so I'm fine with Scott signing it. Second.
Then seeing no more discussion, let's vote. Hawkins, aye.
Keefe, aye.
Stone Eye.
Thank you all, and
Are there other TA announcement stuff? When we did the agenda, we know that some stuff comes out. It's just as much as a reminder for you and me as opposed to the exhaustive list.
Yeah, no, I think that was it
Great.
for now.
Let's jump into old business then. The MRI contract to assist the hiring of the fire chief. I sent out to you folks the renewal contract. I reached out to MRI. They reduced a couple of things in it. The dollar amount is not really substantial. It went from 13.5 to 13. I would love us to just to approve this and get this going so that we're not in limbo for as long as we might otherwise be.
Where is the money coming from?
I did take a quick look, see, I don't see that we have any funding available under the consulting line item, which is kind of where we probably should have had it. The only thing that I can suggest would be a reserve fund transfer or an end of year transfer to cover some of the expenses if we take it out of, say, the selectmen's line item. And if I take off the accounting hat and put on the TA, you have discussed about using ARPA funding, but that would not be an account recommendation, but it would be a TA. So at this point, we don't have any known available funds at this time that I'm aware of. Towards the end of the year, we may have other funding, but.
Is this something that we need to talk to finance about? Where they would prefer it come from?
We can do that. The finance committee has their first meeting on the 21st, so I can bring that up to them.
I would prefer that we try to pass something tonight, because the longer this gets delayed, the more behind the ball we get in getting a new fire chief in. I am fine with deciding that we would like to do this through a reserve fund transfer unless finance committee comes up with a better option. And I also think that if it turns out reserve funds are light at the end of the year, we potentially could use ARPA to cover, you know, whatever we couldn't do in reserve funds or year-end transfers if necessary.
So I would make a motion to approve the $12,995 for recruitment, and maybe at a later date decide what we're doing about the optional comprehensive background check.
Do we need to include, put in the motion that it's either going to be end of year or ARPA pending discussion with finance?
I don't think we have to put that in the motion. I think that it can be determined, you know, just take the information to the finance committee and let them decide how they think we should pay for it.
June, when we sign this, we have to put half a deposit down. Is there enough money in the consulting line to at least cover that first payment?
We would have to double check with Mary, but I'm thinking the consultant line is pretty much, it will cover what we have to for Maplewood.
So the answer is no.
So I don't know if we could take some from consulting or if we could take some from selectmen's or what we could do at this time.
So I would love to have some chance to have finance have some input in it. What I'm worried is that if we sign this and can't actually cut that first check because June with our accounting hat on won't release funds that are not in approved line items, how we make sure that when we approve this, there are funds in approved line items.
Because if we go ARPA, don't we have to go back to capital planning and go through that whole process that Margaret had swung into place?
That there is no legal requirement to do that.
Granted, no legal requirement, but I don't want people saying that because we're the board, we have to skip processes when there's something that might come up that now all of a sudden we're requesting them to go the CPC route.
I really don't think finance is going to have an issue with the reserve fund transfer.
But we need their, and that's great, but we need their
This is
approval.
important
And
enough that we need to take a vote on it this evening and, you know, let finance take it up at their meeting.
yes, but they're not meeting until the 21st. And Scott, when did you say payment was due?
Well, the first payment is due when we sign the contract.
So what, are you going to be speaking to them, Scott?
Until it was just raised 30 seconds ago that we might go to them on how to get this funded. I have not looked at my calendar and their calendar to know whether or not I'm available to go.
No, 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 I'm talking about MRI. Are you going to be speaking to them?
I would be speaking to them, sure. I have been speaking to them at some point. The
I think that
conversation
they will
occurred
be
over the
pretty
team.
flexible about maybe if the payment is a week or two out.
Okay,
I really do. If you want to let them know, or if June wants to let them know, or I'll call them, you
Yeah.
know.
well, I have no problem calling them. It's just the other side of the coin is I'm uncomfortable approving spending of money when we don't know where it's going to come from or even know there's ability to cut the checks for it.
I was gonna say, I know it'll still postpone it a little bit, but you could approve to do the contract based on funding. And we can decide on the funding part of it, but I would say if we start working with MRI at this point, we may be able to do that also.
That I can make that friendly amendment to my motion if you'd like. Would that help?
Mhm,
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
Okay,
And I think my
That's
fail
it.
is that if like MRI for some reason, and you're right, we've dealt with them for years, we've paid them all
Yes.
along,
we're good for it.
we have a lot of goodwill with them. I believe that they will
Yes.
do that. And if some reason it's a problem, we do have a select board meeting on the 22nd that's supposed to be a coffee talk. But if we wanted to add an agenda item on the beginning of coffee talk for us to vote on something that came from FinCom, we could.
Yeah.
Well, and frankly, if we wanted to meet next Monday because we needed to vote on something, we could also do that too. I don't think we're going to do that, but you're right. There are other options if it turns out that they would do it. So that means the motion is to approve this, allow the chair to sign, that we have full intents of funding it. And we're going to just do a little bit more research before we figure out what of several available buckets it will come from.
Mary, do you have that motion?
Contract signed by the chair, funding to be sourced determined later, $12,495. Giddy up.
Yeah, 12,900.
All right,
Was it $9.95 or was it $4.95?
$9.95.
Oh, so close to 9.
12,995, yes.
It was close, Mary.
What's a couple $100?
Right.
All right.
Sadly, when it comes to motions, exactness is kind of sometimes, but normally you're right.
I'll second it. Do we, I'll wait when Scott says, are there any more questions?
Right, so that's a motion and a second. Are there more questions before we vote?
Yes, so for the finance meeting, June, I don't want this to always all fall on you. That's not fair. Do you want one of us, probably Scott, since he's the chair, to formally request this to go on the finance agenda on the 21st, you said? And then can we put an agenda item on Coffee Talk, we meet at 6? Coffee Talk starts at 6:30 if we need to have maybe a joint discussion with us in finance?
Right, and we have until next Thursday to even decide whether or not we need to have that meeting or not.
Yeah, I would say, Peg, what I can do is I can send off an email off to finance, just to give them a heads up on, that we'll be discussing this. I don't believe at this time we're going to be putting in for the reserve fund, just because we do have funds, I believe in, I don't know, I think the select board consulting line, that we may be able to cover it, but I don't know for how long.
Yep.
With just the understanding, just to let them have a heads up that we will be coming for either a reserve fund transfer. I don't know if we can wait till the last 2 months for a line item transfer for this particular item, but where it is a substantial amount, so.
And we have already been warned of a couple other places where we have potential reserve fund transfers coming from.
Correct, so.
Okay, I've put the 21st on my calendar. And June, when you send that out, just CC me so I can see the responses and
Absolutely.
know if I have to go on the 21st or not.
Yeah, I'm hoping we won't get any responses because we don't want to break the open meeting law, but I'll just, yeah.
Well, I think if you're asking FinCom, can you put this on the agenda and they say, yes, I'm needed or no, I'm not, is not necessarily a,
Okay, All right, I'll
Open
just ask
meeting.
Stan. I'll go direct
Yeah.
to the chair.
Yep.
So do we need to vote or did we?
Yes. Is there more questions? Okay, so I think we're ready to vote. Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
Stone eye.
Okay. If this is, the next agenda item could be my mistake. I thought I removed this from this meeting. Did I forget to
You
remove? it from
did, but I talked to Mary.
Okay.
And I had actually brought the letter that we were proposing to send out for the Dunning letter as far as the fiscal year 21 license. And pretty much town council's comment was that we're not address it at that time. We really don't have the right to hold this up for that. So they would recommend that we approve the license as it is and maybe look at our procedures as to following up on licenses that aren't renewed in the future.
Is there a motion or second?
A motion to approve the release of calendar year 2022 licenses for Premier Amusements.
Seconded.
And I'm sure all of us are doing it with a little bit of reluctance, but I think we're ready to vote. Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
Stone eye.
Oh, sorry, and I forgot that I was going to bring Chief up before doing the second one, but this went fast. So new business, job description approvals. We have 3 job descriptions, all in the fire department. Full-time fire lieutenant, fire prevention officer, part-time call fire lieutenant job description, and a fire chief job description, all of which have gone to the personnel committee, and I believe all approved. Oh, you can see that I've added a line to the agenda that is totally irrelevant, but yes.
Yeah, you're off.
Are there questions for the chief about any one or all 3 of them?
I did not have any questions on any of them. I thought they all looked good.
I thought they were all decent too. Peggy, go ahead.
All right, so there's a few housekeeping ones that will be easy to take care of. In the fire and EMS chief, there are several spots where it refers to us as the Board of Selectmen. So if we could get that changed to Select Board, that's easy peasy.
Peg, I'm sorry, you said it was that in the fire and EMS chief?
Yes, so if you're on the first page and under essential functions from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullet item from the bottom, maintains control activities to the Board of Selectmen,
Got it?
Which one is the fire and EMS chief?
says fire and EMS chief.
I have full-time fire lieutenant, fire prevention, part-time call firefighter or fire lieutenant job description and fire chief job description on the agenda.
Fire chief.
Sorry, it's
Okay.
officially fire and EMS chief, yes.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
took a shortcut when writing the agenda.
That's
And
okay.
then June on the second page, above where it has recommended minimum qualifications, come up, 1, 2, 3. The third one from the bottom starts provide a monthly report. Again, it mentions Board of Selectmen, and then there's one above it for Board of Selectmen.
Okay,
I think you could do a search for Board of Selectmen, right?
Yeah.
yep.
Yep. And then here's my questions for Chief. I was looking away. Is he up? Okay, so Chief, this is gonna feel like the Spanish Inquisition. You know I love you dearly, but you also know that Peg is the queen of questions. So you asked for like how I just blended that in, you asked for a Corey report. Is there a need for a SORI report on any of these on any of these descriptions? Or do you think that Corey will cover anything that SORI could potentially pick up?
I have to be honest with you, I've never heard the one that you said, was it SORI, like SORI?
SORI, it's
know?
pretty much sex offender.
Oh, well, I think that I had as part of some of my past functions, was able to do the Corey checks. I don't have any experience with the SORI one. And we do Corey now with new employees when they come in, and all the people that have come in since I've been here as part of Dennis's initial paperwork, do a Cory check.
Okay,
Copy of the license goes with it, blah, 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 that stuff. So it's like, yep,
okay. All right, that was easy peasy.
sorry.
So it looks like, so if you're on the first page and you go to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th line, it starts prepares and submits departmental budget research, request for equipment. Is that redundant with other lines, specifically one on page 2 that talks about also
Uh-oh.
Oops.
Did we
Did
lose?
just
a-
make the middle
two different
sentence?
items?
Oh,
Uh,
we lost.
First
you.
of all, I don't have the chief's one in front of me. I didn't know that we were doing that tonight. All I knew that we were doing is the part-time call lieutenant and the fire lieutenant, fire prevention officer. I don't have a copy of that one that if it's the chief one, I don't have a copy of that in front of me. I apologize. I didn't know I needed to have that one. My bad.
No, my bad. We can skip over this one and go to the combined fire lieutenant one if you want. All
Okay,
right.
whatever works for you.
Oh, boy. So on this one, well, let me ask first, Scott and Chris, do you have any questions?
No, I thought they were fine and had full faith in personnel, even though I might have written some of the lines differently.
Okay. So on the footer of this one, if you compare this one to the fire and EMS chief, or even the other one, on the fire, there's a line that says exempt. It's down the bottom, and on the call one, there's a line that says not exempt, but there is not a classification on this one. So which one is it?
On one of them, I was asked to take whatever was on there. To be honest with you, I don't remember exactly which one it said, but they asked to take it off at the personnel meeting. So I'm not sure what
That's
this
the-
one said. I got the one here I have in front of me, does not have it. But again, I'm pretty sure, and again, memory's not the strongest it used to be, that they asked to have that removed. So
All right.
when I did my last draft of it, I took that off, but I
Okay.
don't remember if it was exempt or I don't remember which one it was, to be honest with you.
So this one, I'm sharing the screen to make it easier. So, everyone's on the same page. This one's the fire lieutenant here. So if you look down towards where the footer is, there's nothing here, but if you go over to the call one, and if you look down here, see how there's a status. So my question is,
Well, if I may, the easy, simple answer may be the lieutenant 5-inch one is covered in a contract. And the call
Okay.
one does not have a contract. And I believe that's the one that it's non-exempt, it's part-time, so it's non-exempt. It's from the FLSA overtime rule, which is, I think, 212 hours in the past 28 days. I believe that's the number. So it's
Okay.
like, if that helps you with an answer, that's what this stuff with the fire, the full-time is covered in a contract. When they get overtime, when they don't, how they get it. And the other one is not because they're part-time. So it says they're exempt from it, from overtime.
okay. All right.
makes sense. From the FLSA, which is at 212 over 28 days.
Okay, this was an issue, and I just want to make sure that this is clear, because if this is a non-exempt position, which means hourly, and there are meetings that should be attended, there's a very distinct line between, as needed or required and approved by you. And I know that it's splitting hairs, but we went through this before, and so I want all my crazy hair in one place. So is it going to be as needed or as required and approved? And because I'm concerned about the budget.
Yep, the request goes, and I'm gonna use the zoning board as an example. We did some work with them, and the last sentence, a sentence was added to the bottom of the document on a review of a property, that if a representative from our organization is required at your town meeting, it might be the 5-inch guy, it might be me, so there's no fee with me or payment with me. But he has the opportunity to get, if he goes in like that, to get where the contract's written. Again, it's a contract, so we have to honor that. Is either has the ability to request comp time or time paid for, like, if it's an hour or two, and it's a minimum of 2 hours. So it's like, that's where they are now. And I haven't had that. I can't say how long, but it's been, I'm thinking 1.5 to 2 years since we've had to do that. So it's not something that happens very often, I think. I think it was like, I don't know, before I came, I heard things, but I'm not sure what was like, what they did or what they didn't do. It's only hearsay. So
No,
it's like, I know. we
I think
brought
it should stay as required or as asked by the board that
Like
is
if you,
requiring
yeah.
it.
I was
might
just saying,
be
I
the
believe the
select
fire
board.
chief controls who goes and when
Right.
goes to committee meeting, because
Well,
that's
then-
what we hire a fire chief to do. And
Well,
as
then,
the
but
person
you
who's hiring
also
position.
need to be required by the certain board also.
Yeah, like it's not,
Right, and
sometimes
just like
it's,
for other things, if the board wants someone there,
conservation.
they let the fire chief know and he determines the appropriate person to go. This is
Yeah.
letting the person who has this job, that they might be the person who's asked often to go.
yeah.
The budget
Yep.
and how many hours are necessary are
Right.
totally in the purview of the fire chief. We have a strong
Yeah.
fire chief who controls when his staff go
But
place.
I would
on.
still leave in that they're asked to come by a certain board.
Yeah,
I would make no change to the job description because of that.
no, I would agree.
Which number
Right.
was it? Which one was it, Peg? Which
Uh,
bullet
One
are
more
we
time,
talking
show me where it is
about?
so I can,
Yeah, show
Right,
me
hang
where
on.
it is.
Yeah,
because it wasn't posted on there, but we
Here.
still,
right here.
Yeah.
10 planning board meetings, so it's on page
As
2,
needed,
maybe?
to provide information and approve up projects.
right.
Okay,
All right,
and no one wanted to add with approval of the fire chief? No?
well, the way that it's structured, I have to okay them to go.
Okay, okay,
Now, they don't just go. Yeah, we had to
No,
add
no.
that structure after I came here, we needed to add that structure that we
yep,
can go. but we need to
Exactly.
Have a way to go, so there's, that brings structure and there's a plan in place.
right,
I think we've only been maybe one time in the 3 years I've been here. you
because
know?
it probably isn't something that's really that necessary.
okay,
But
all
there's-
right,
but-
that's
but
fine.
there's- But there's some that come up. and I-
Yep,
you know,
that's
There are.
Yep,
and I
that's
did
fine,
that-
I just want it clear. Okay.
Thank you, good
here's-
question.
Here's the other one that as a citizen, I have a really hard time with. Right here, that this position will have access to confidential information, personal information about citizens. I'm sorry, chief. I love you to death, but you have no reason and can give me no reason why you should know anything about me.
Yeah, but sometimes in the application process, personal information has to be shared, phone numbers, where you
Yeah.
live, things like that. And I'm not
That-
talking about like what you do on a Saturday night kind of personal information. I'm talking about personal information. It's like, and that person knows that there's a strong degree of dependability on the community, that none of that information will be shared. What goes on here stays here. And that's, I think, what the meaning of that is. Yeah, no, I'm not like
Mm-mm.
the stuff that,
Chief, I'd like to put in 2 cents here. Also keep in mind, Peg, that these people are also EMTs.
And I
So-
understand that, and I'm playing devil's advocate with this.
Yeah.
No, and I
So-
understand that, but this person will have to deal with personnel information in regards to patients or
even,
That's
Medication.
the kind of information they're talking about, is that kind of confidential.
That's my,
Yeah.
that's why I'm playing devil's advocate. If you need to know that I'm a diabetic and I have, seizures and other medical,
Yep.
absolutely. But you leave it as personal information, to me, you're opening up a can of worms.
Well, they're
So,
not going to be
slowly-
given any other kind of personal information.
Chris, you don't know that because it says personal information about citizens. So
I
Right,
think
but
this
we also
is
don't want this to be a
making a mountain out of a
10-page
molehill
document that
here.
lists all the possible things they can and can't see.
Yeah,
Leave it
General summary
as
of what the-
demographic and medical information, but I am not, as a citizen, I'm not talking as a select person. As a citizen, I am not comfortable with that statement about personal information about citizens.
that's okay.
So
But
I
you're talking like,
don't agree with that.
okay.
All
Thank
right. All right, Chief, I did
Yes.
not see in here anywhere that talked about hours. Or is this a Monday through Friday position, a Monday through Thursday position?
It's a Monday through
Hours
Thursday.
wouldn't be in the job.
Again, the
description.
hours are in the contract, so he's got to work to his hours in the contract. And it will be what is, the plan is to do Monday to Thursday, 07 to 17:30, which would be 5:30 in the afternoon. So yeah, he stays to get his 42 hours.
So you said it's Monday through Thursday?
Yep.
So what's that do to your coverage on Friday if this is a part-time firefighter person too?
Well, I don't know what you, I thought we were talking about the career part, the career position.
Right.
That's what
I
I'm
am,
at.
I am, but if
It
this
has
is a
nothing to do-
combined,
But
if this is,
so
if
he's
this is a
on-
combined fire lieutenant, fire prevention person, so to me, it's, doing all inspections and great things like that, but it's also, when that tone goes off,
Yep.
you're gone. You turn
Everybody goes.
into
Everybody goes.
firefighter Joe.
Right.
Yep.
So
Okay.
if this is only a Monday through Thursday position, then does that leave you short for people
Again,
on
I don't
a
know if
Friday?
that's relevant to the job description because the fire chief's job is to keep ours covered. This is just the job description for a
Well,
job.
thi-
This is not how does the fire chief cover all the hours to make sure the town
There-
gets
There's
covered.
a minimum of, I'm sorry, Scott, I started to talk before you were done. My apologies. There's a minimum of 3 people if everyone's in on Fridays. Okay, myself and the career person who's there and the per diem person who's there. So that's how we handle most of the days now with Dave. We've been doing that for over a month now with the fire marshal's position open, so to speak. So it's like,
Okay, all right. Again, these are questions that, you hear and that I just want answered to in the description or not. And even if they're not on the description, then I think the folks of the town have a right to see this because rumors, how they get started, rumors get legs, rumors become fact. I just want to cut it off. All right,
no, it's
next
4
question.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, it's Monday to Thursday, which is a normal fire prevention / lieutenant shift.
Okay,
Worked it for almost 20 years. Myself.
all right. All right, so next question, discrepancy, and maybe it's just me. In this one, you have to move objects weighing, 60 pounds. But in the call fire lieutenant, it doesn't have anything
Okay.
for, this is how much I have to carry.
This-
It just
that-
says,
That,
may
there was-
occasionally lift or drag.
okay, these job descriptions were done by your, I hope I say it right, the HR consultant that came in and gave us a whole new format for job descriptions that we needed to develop to use for our departments. And I think I've shared this with June maybe, that the way that the job description was written was, for all of them, was the same. It was very, very generic and said, cannot lift weights over 60 pounds. And I said, I came from a union shop, and if someone is not having a good day, when something's 61 pounds, I'm gonna get the arms, I'm gonna say, Chief, that's 61 pounds, I can't lift that. So
Yep.
maybe in excess of 60. And they're all the same. And the part-time people, it's like, I'm surprised it's not in all of them though, because that was part of that base one that I kind of built them all on. And I had to take all of them and tweak them so they were street ready for Berlin and not just a generic form taken off someone's database and, okay, use this one, use that, use this. And
Yep.
that's why we go through that process prior to you with personnel to kind of hammer all those little nuances down in the process before we get
Yep.
to you.
Yeah, so as I said, Chief, the combined one has it, and I think yours had it too, the chief one.
Yep.
had, weighing in excess of 60 pounds, but if you go to the call lieutenant, it just says you're gonna drag things.
And it could be the difference between the personnel committee approving the part-time one in May and the other two in August and September.
All right. So do we need to get that fixed so it's consistent and we avoid chiefs, oh, that weighs too much, I'm not picking it up.
But it's not, if it's not listed, it's on the part-time one, what page are you on where you see that?
2 of 3, she has it on the screen.
Yeah, right here.
Physical
There's
requirements, hold on.
nothing.
May occasionally lift, drag, carry, move heavy objects.
Right,
Same
stay,
thing.
all right, so stay there.
60 pounds, yep.
Yeah, and then here it is on this one right here,
the full-time.
excess of 60 pounds. This is for the
Yep.
lieutenant.
60 pounds was in there from the HR consultant, and they were just both tweaked with different verbiage, if you can say that, if that's a word to use for that, Both say the same thing. May have to lift something over 60 pounds, the other one may have to lift heavy weights.
Do you want us
Alright.
to just add that to the call?
'Cause
It's not my call. I'm just pointing out a discrepancy in the
Well-
job descriptions.
It will be when we make motions. And so are you thinking that we should do a motion to make them consistent?
Yeah,
Okay, so when we make the motions, we can do that.
okay.
Make them
Um,
consistent with that,
Yeah, I'm gonna try to pull up the 2 wordings both to be in front of me. So we make it, I can try to make sure that we say it right.
Yeah, so it's just right here. So Scott, if you just take the sentence and add in
Right.
weighing in excess of 60 pounds, then these two are gonna be spot
Yep.
on.
Yep.
Okay. All right,
just put the in excess of 60 pounds in the part-time one.
Correct.
yes, in
That's
the,
it. That's
Same
it.
paragraph,
you
'cause
like
Peg
that.
is right. It is almost word for word identical, except for that parenthetical
here.
is
May lift,
uh,
yeah.
in excess of
And
60.
to be completely honest with you, it wasn't done to make one different than the other.
No,
Just the way.
I think they were just done at different time periods.
times,
Yep,
and it was like.
Yep.
The meet and end.
that's fine. Yep.
All right,
Okay.
Let's see. I think we've talked about most of them. And Chief, again, just for my own edification, let me get the right one up on the screen. This one here, the combined fire lieutenant, fire prevention, full-time, dear God, that's a mouthful. This is a working firefighter that if there are no inspections that are being done, that tone goes off, you go, that this
Everybody
is
goes.
not,
It's not, you can completely misspell that whole thing. We changed that even with the person who just recently retired a year and a half ago. And it was one of the most, I think, the most successful things that we had happen here. Everyone, the bell rings, everyone goes. There's no one
Yep.
that stays back. No one can't go. Everyone goes.
And
okay,
It's a fire
I do,
hose.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that we're all clear too, is that this is not a combined fire lieutenant / fire prevention. The chief did restructuring of the department. So it wasn't necessarily a combined, it was just restructuring to make sure that everybody was consistent with what was actually happening. And everybody was doing a little bit of fire inspections. So I just want to make sure that that's clear also, and that it's not an actual new job description, that this is just restructuring of what he already had.
It's the
So that there
combination.
wasn't,
Thank you. It's the combination of trying to put those in at least amount of words as possible, and it's already at 4 pages of those two past functions, together. So it's either, but you can only do one at a time. You're
I know.
doing one or the other. Either going on calls and being a lieutenant, or you're going on doing the fire prevention duty. So did you bounce back? It's like a yo-yo some days.
and I did also touch base with Margaret, and I believe we do need to add the FSLA non-exempt on the call, on the lieutenant / fire prevention. I do believe that has to, but I'm gonna double check with personnel on that also.
Yeah,
Just because it is an hourly position. Normally though, that because he is a a career firefighter, he would be entitled to overtime on a regular basis versus the other ones, it is the FLSA. So I just need to confirm that.
Okay.
And so if that does need to be adjusted, it will come back.
I think that was in there and it was asked to be taken off.
Yeah, I think you're right too, Chief. I'm just,
Yeah.
I just want to make certain of that.
Yep, and so, yeah, it can be put back in.
Chief, I think you've done it. Let me go back. Let me check this page. Again, I appreciate your patience with my Spanish
No, no,
Inquisition.
No, it's all part of the process. I can only do
Right.
one thing at a time. I'm here tonight, so.
I know, but I want to get you home too. It's 8:45. All right, I think we're good. Those are all my questions from the job descriptions.
Thank you.
So can I just confirm that on the fire chief's job description, it's pretty much just changing over to the select board in all of the spots? Is that what it was? And the
And just-
call, go ahead.
On the fire chief, yeah, it's flipping everybody, so it's now select board. But also I just had a couple questions if there was any redundancies regarding budgets, because in one line, it talked about a budget. In another line, it talked about, going to the town administrator and procurement. I just wanted to make sure that there were 3 spots. Was it 3 different things or one thing in there 3 times?
Okay.
That's all. And so
I'll
again,
look
not a
in.
biggie, but.
Okay.
Okay, and that was it.
So am I to understand that we are going to, we're looking, or I might be looking for a motion to approve all 3 where we fix the footers to be consistent between the 2 fire descriptions, June. I think whatever personnel and the lawyer says is the right footer we put on them.
Okay.
That we're going to add the in excess of 60 pounds, so that the weight requirement and lifting requirements are the same for the 2 fire chiefs. We're going to fix a select board to on all the places where it says select men in the current fire chief. And that if there's a tweaking of language between the 3 fiscal ones, just to make sure there's not a conflict between them. And that we could approve all 3 of these. Is that where Chris and Peg you are at?
My suggestion, and just the years I've been in municipal government, I think it might be a good idea to take the 60 pounds out rather than add it to the other one. Use the same language in the one that doesn't have the 60 pounds. That would
Is that a
be
contract? Is that a contract thing though?
Nope,
It's-
no,
it's
that's
more
like,
of it could be a liability.
My only gut to do it the other direction, Chris, is that the one with the 60 pounds is approved by personnel more recently than the one that does not have the 60 pounds in it.
Well, then how about we leave it up?
But I have it. My preference is so tiny that I am fine with whatever our answer is. My hope
That's
is. to get
because you're
something
almost
approved.
asleep. I was
Well,
watching.
it's not as much asleep as that I want to get these approved so we can post these
Yes.
jobs and hire these positions.
Exactly.
But-
Well, same here. I mean, if it's going back to personnel, is it?
This
I
is
don't think my
fine.
motion was to send it back to personnel. My motion was to make these as sort of typographical fixes
yeah,
and let them go.
All right, all right. I just.
so
I'm
I'm
comfortable
clear.
with
Do you want the 60, in excess of 60 pounds or heavy objects? Just so I'm
Peg,
clear. Huh?
your thoughts, since Chris and I
I
are.
like the
having
heavy
slight
objects
Other
because
direction.
it's like, that leaves it like wide open. So, it's like, we have to do what we gotta do. Sometimes it's someone's 400 pounds and sometimes they're 85 pounds or 2
know.
pounds with a baby down on West Street. So it's like.
And you know what?
that's, 8.
And I honestly hope that there would be no one, not Justin Berlin, but insert any other town name here, that would actually turn around and say, I'm sorry, I can't pick this up. I'm eyeballing it and it's 61 pounds, so go find somebody else.
But it goes kind of like, it goes back, Peg, into where you are tonight with some of the questions. It's like, you gotta be prepared for people not to be able to say that,
All right, so then if Chief, that's it. Then get rid of the weight requirement and just say push, drag, pull, over hill and dale as needed.
They would anyways. Like you said,
Yeah.
no one's gonna question it. We all just jump in and do it.
I know.
So it's like,
The motion
that
will
was,
be to.
that was
approve
in
all-
the original draft from the consultant, so that wasn't put in there. That was just tried to be tweaked, so it was street manageable, if that's the way to say it.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so I think the motion again is then to fix the footer on the two, the part-time and the full-time fire jobs, to remove the 60-pound requirement from the one that has it on it, and to fix select board in the fire chief description, and potentially a tweak of a line or two on the fiscal responsibilities of the chief, just to make sure they're not contradictory.
And was that, you're doing the motion or you want me to make? it?
Well, I don't know if as chair I can make the motion. I'm suggesting that as the
You
motion.
can. Okay, then I'll second it. You can make a motion.
Sure. Is there any more discussion? No.
No.
Hawkins, aye.
Wow, Chris, you
Keep
shut me
eye.
down and said no. Stone, aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Chief.
My president, June, I don't even remember what revised job application approval is even.
What we did is that attached, you will find the old job description. I mean, the old application asked for things like social security number and other items that we really should not be asking of an applicant at that point in time. So we just brought it up to date and made it look a little bit more professional, and took out the items that needed to come out. So this was just the
Mhm.
new draft.
Motion to approve?
I just
Yeah,
think that's what people would show. Yep.
Yeah, I'll second it. It looks fine. I didn't see anything.
Then I think we might be done with the discussion. Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
Stone, aye.
I have to get back to the agenda. Coffee talk, final details. Are there more details that are needed? I think there was a conversation about whether or not we should pull the ALS discussion off the agenda. In
Yeah.
that the ALS discussion itself is big and complicated enough, and is probably going to take an hour plus just for it. And since we have other things on the agenda, a 15 or 20 minutes would not do it justice or allow any real discussion or other stuff. That we might do a presentation later on, which is nothing but, and it won't call it coffee, but a community presentation of an ALS study.
I think that's probably a good idea, actually.
The chief did say he would be available for any questions that anybody might have in regards to it or anything else, but he just felt that it would be not appropriate at this time, because I believe that the select board also had decided to hold off on this until we had the new TA and a new fire chief.
Mhm.
And then the other piece is that I think might be too small, but that we'll have coffee and some cookies or something for people who happen to be on site. That's fine by folks.
Yep.
Is there other little details, June, you think we need input on? I thought I'd seen it out there. I forwarded to a bunch of folks as well.
I don't believe so. I did ask Mary to confirm, to make sure that everybody was going to be available, and the only one that I wasn't positive on was Paul. I'm hoping that there was some touch base of the new mattress for him to talk about it, but I can reach out again to him directly to make sure that he is aware of it.
Is that Paul or Sue Regera, who is the one responsible for putting the grant together and doing the legwork?
I don't honestly know that, Peg,
Okay.
so I can reach out to both of them and see.
Okay.
The item for the article for the item, item for the item.
All that was just here, I'll share again. Oh, please. Oh, please, your call is. important.
Based on our discussion 2.5 seconds ago, there's probably a line you want to remove.
Yes. Yeah, right here. Boink. I'll take it out.
Well,
So
he-
it's-
what about just leaving in that will be there to answer questions or
Well,
something?
except that there's not a if there's not a presentation on it and people might not,
Okay.
I don't think I'd like to just remove it.
right.
I think it opens the door for the hour plus long discussion and
Oh, I
in-depth
know.
questions that we'd rather not do this. And not that we're afraid of it, it's just that there's already a pretty packed agenda and don't have time tonight. I'll make a point. I think Chief Clark is on our agenda, will be on our agenda for our next meeting on the 26th. And I'll put back on it to talk about potentially setting up when they think of right time. And the right time still might be a month or two, and the right time might be 6 months. But I sense from him about where to take advantage of setting up potentially a time to do that.
All right, I will, after we're done, I will go in and remove this line and send it off to the item. I hope that it gets in there. If it goes in there next week, it does us no good. I
Right.
noticed that the second half of the September submission
Right.
never made it. So, I mean, I sent it and I
Yep.
got confirmation that they got it. So I can't tell you if this is gonna make it or not.
I've also noticed they've gone from like 16 pages to 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, 8
I
of
know.
which only 3 were actually articles. The rest were community
I know.
calendar ads and a couple other things. So yes.
All right, I will make my plea to put it in this week. If he can't, then you know what, we'll just, I mean, Mary's already sent the invitation around, that's been forwarded around, so next week, we'll just do it again.
Yep.
Okay,
I'm in favor. Do we think we need a formal vote, or are you fine, Peg, with all of us just saying it looks good?
I'm good. I'll whip it out and get it out tonight.
Oh, let's go back to tonight's agenda, not next time's agenda.
I'm sorry.
Uh,
I was looking at the calendar. So I thought it looked good, Peg, by the
Yeah.
way.
Hey, an appointment. We get to fill another vacancy on a town committee and commission. Always makes us happy to see people stepping up. The appointment of Eleanor Bergen to the vacancy on the Historical Commission through 5/31/23.
So moved.
And seconded.
Happy to see people stepping forward. I think we're ready to vote. Hawkins, aye.
Key-fi.
Stone eye.
Boards, question, comments, and liaison updates. Chris? Go for it.
I had the Neshoba Valley Regional Dispatch District on the 8th. The overtime account is still running low, still hiring dispatchers. Hiring an accountant is in process. There was $280,000 requested in reimbursements. 168,000 received. 112,000 is expected soon. $25,000 from each town will be needed if Verizon pulls back their copper lines. And
Verizon copper lines are due for decommissioning by 12/31. It's a giant project absorbing a huge amount of my time at work.
right. So that could cost us a little bit more.
Yep.
$140,000 in capital could help offset that though, because they do have 140 or at least 140 in capital right now. The renovation project at the facility is to include fire and state police in the Barnum building, meaning Devon's fire and state, and then the state police in the Barnum building where dispatch is. Supposedly it will not affect Neshoba Valley Dispatch. We talked about the lease, which will continue to include the HVAC through the next year, after which Neshoba Valley will assume servicing for the HVAC, and dispatches will be losing storage space. 1 year lease presently is 3,000, 1 year, I think it's 1 month. $3,293, is that right, June?
Yeah, they would have been paid by Neshoba Valley, not at the towns.
I would assume that Well,
Sounds
anyway,
like a complete number.
the rent will be going up. And it looks like it's about $300 a month with the new lease. The IMA, which is the agreement with the 7 towns, updates have been made to the agreement and will at some point go to town meeting, each town's town meeting. And no new towns have shown interest in joining the district. And that's it. Oh, one more thing. Mary, are you still awake?
Spam.
I just wanted to say happy birthday.
Aw,
Well, when this meeting started, I was 54. 55.
you're what, 95 now, did you say? There you go.
The hubby went to bed, so there'll be no cake tonight.
Oh,
Sorry.
There's always cake.
I don't
Always
need
room for cake.
so.
You cut it right, you can push it back together. You're good.
I think my mice children will probably get into it. That's all right.
Peg,
All right, Concom wrote up an article for the item that I submitted in regard to the grant award for McGrail, Horseshoe, Lore, Lyman Street, whatever you want to call it, property. I thought that they should get some accolades. They did a ton of work. So that went off. Hopefully it will show up somewhere. Adam Fuller, I am playing tag with on dates. You know, there's dates that I can make that he can't, that I can. So again, not critical, but that's moving along. So the reason why I asked for Fred and if they can adjust the weight on the doors. I'm getting ready to send in the ADA grant and I'm taking a different tact. I've been told that it works better that if you ask for smaller items that can be done in about 6 months' time. So the items that I'm asking for are like getting the phone in the vestibule, just because I like to say vestibule lowered. You know, there's some light switches, there's some pipes that need to be wrapped in the bathrooms throughout the buildings. There's railings and issues at the town hall. So all those are totaling under about 6,000, and I've added some for inflation, and I've also added some so that this doesn't fall on highways, so that we could hire a plumber type person to come in and wrap pipes, so that you could hire an electrician to come in and do that stuff. And one of the items in the document from 2 years ago stated that the weight of the door coming into the town offices was too heavy, and the timing that it takes to close is too short. So I know I just asked Fred, they can do it. But again, I want to include that for somebody else to do. I don't want Fred and his staff to be burdened with, you know, light switches and wrapping pipes and new doorknobs that don't open the right way, you know, so small things like that that can be done in 6 months. So that's why I asked if he could do it. I'm thinking if they can do it, probably a general contractor who can work on everything else can be smushed in. So that's why I just asked Fred.
should I put on the next meeting agenda for us to formally endorse the list of things you're writing the grant for?
I can, yeah, I can get that out. For that, you know, if we have to end up meeting at 6 on the 22nd to discuss funding, I can have it ready. But yeah, I'll pluck them right out. But
It's just to make sure that you're writing up things that are select board approved. So
Yep.
it doesn't look like it's just a PEG approved thing, which,
Yep.
you know,
No, and as I said, these come right out of the CMRPC self-evaluation done for the town in 2020. So I'm not making them up. I'm literally cutting and pasting to put that in there. Conservation, at that meeting, there's continued issues going on at 40 Caves where people are on, you know, motorbikes, there's speeding, there's safety concerns with people walking the trails, and flick comes an ATV whizzing by. It's a Clinton Berlin item because the tracks are coming out of Clinton, but they're heading to Berlin. So they're working on that. I'm sure you've been by Old Flat Penny and saw that that's all dug up. They really aren't able to do anything more. They're working with DEP on the sewer, and it's either going to be a 120-gallon tank or it's going to be 260-gallon tanks for that. Unfortunately, where one of the members is also doing the construction, he had to recuse himself. Therefore, conservation did not have the right amount of people to vote. So they have to table that until next week to, or whenever their next meeting is, to see what comes back from DEP. And there's continued issues going on with Highland, the apartments up on Highland Street, the over 55 community. One of the
Highland
lawyers
Ridge.
came in and asked for additional occupancy permits, and I was really proud of conservation. They basically said, no, go away and fix the things that we've told you to fix, and until you fix them, we're not going to do it. So stop asking. So, congratulations to them. But the problem that they're running into is that whoever the developer is, they're selling these units. So people are selling their homes and they're expecting to move in. And we're like, you got to play by the rules there, kids.
I feel sorry for the people buying, but it's the developer that's putting them in that situation, not the town.
And that, and Scott, they have said it over and over and over again, stop doing this.
Yep.
But yet they come back and go, so can we have 12 more? No, you can't. And literally, I watched the guy walk down the hall with his head hung.
Right.
So we'll see what happens when he comes back.
Yep.
That's all I got.
I'm fine. Historical still meets regularly, but we have, I think, some dates planned for some of their projects to come forward to us. Is that it? We don't have an executive meeting tonight, executive session tonight. So I think we might be ready for a motion to adjourn.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Great. Thanks, everyone. I keep wanting to say all in favor tonight for some reason. We need to vote. Hawkins, aye.
Keefe, aye.
Stone eye.